But we've got to start today with Texas head coach Steve Sarkisian, because he had some things to say yesterday at the Touchdown Club event down in the Houston area. There was a lot to take out of what he had to say, but the biggest headline... A lot. And we're gonna dive into all of it because he had some very interesting points. He had some very interesting arguments. He also had some things that probably irked some people around the state. And we'll start there with VO number 3. This was the quote that we're pretty sure, anyway, is directed at Texas Tech. Sark said, "There's a team in our state that plays in another conference that has a schedule that I would argue if I played with our 2s and our 3s, we could go undefeated. And they'll probably make the CFP this year." With all due respect to all of the other programs in the state, because obviously he's not talking about Texas A&M. They play in the SEC. He's not talking about Baylor. He's not talking about Houston. He's not talking about TCU. He's talking about Texas Tech because, I'm sorry, those other 3 teams probably aren't going to the college football playoff this year. Texas Tech is the team that's got the best chance for that. They're the team that was in it last year. I think it's pretty reasonable to assume he's talking about the Red Raiders, and Cody Campbell himself, the big money booster, if we can pull up that VO number 18, Cody Campbell had his response directly to a tweet of this, says, "Schedule us then." Kind of, yeah. I'd love to see that. Yeah. Give me Texas and Texas Tech going with the way that Tech has climbed the ranks in college football in recent vintage, very, very recent vintage, but they have put themselves in the playoff a year ago. That would be a blast to see those 2 teams set up a home and home. Please make that happen.
I feel like now, entering his 6th year, he's had 5 years at Texas. Obviously, the first 2 were kind of those building years. Year 3, he establishes Texas as a legitimate national title contender.
Yeah.
And then has sustained that type of play over these last 3 years. I feel like Sark is now at the point, at least in his Texas tenure, where he feels maybe a little bit more at liberty to speak more of his truth. You've seen him, especially this offseason, but really throughout, I would say last season especially, address some of these things that are talked about in the media really head on. And he's not afraid to let you know how he feels on the matter. And I think it's a side of him that we haven't necessarily seen throughout every stop in his career. And I don't know if it's because he feels some sort of confidence in the success that Texas has had. But
probably for good reason.
For him, yeah. Right. And I don't think it's undeserved, or I don't even think it's necessarily wrong. It's just that I feel like nowadays, right, we're so accustomed to hearing coach speak and player speak, and it's so media trained, and you rarely ever get that layer of, or that element of candidness that we honestly would love to see more and more. So, and I also do think this, when Sark says something that is a little bit more, I would say, controversial, not that this is necessarily a controversial thing he said about Tech, but when he kind of peels back the curtain and lets you see a little bit more about what he's actually thinking, it's usually rooted in some sort of fact or some sort of substance. And so we were talking about this beforehand. You said, I wonder if Tech could also use their 2s and 3s to play some of the teams on their schedule.
Because that's one of the things, yes, because that's something that I do think has gotten lost in all of this, because I've seen a lot of people, even the national pundits, that are reacting to this and saying, whoa, Sark, you're going too far saying you can beat Texas Tech with your 2s and 3s. Can we pull the quote back up? That's not what he said.
No, yeah.
That's not what he actually said. I get why people went there logically, but that's not actually what he said. What he said was, if we played with our 2s and 3s, we could go undefeated against their schedule. Now, that's a shot at TCU and Baylor and Oklahoma State Houston and the rest of the Big 12, for sure. But he's not saying we could beat Texas Tech with our 2s and 3s. Everybody knows across college football, basically the way that things work now, the SEC's a monster. The Big Ten is a monster. In the Big 12, it's Texas Tech, and we'll see. There are other, BYU has been very good. I'm not saying it's only Texas Tech, but Texas Tech is that known commodity now.
Because of NIL.
Yes.
Cody Campbell.
That's a clarification here because that is also.
That's why Cody Campbell's the one who's responding to the tweet saying, "All right, you want to call us out?
That's why the bank account
Let's
responded.
go."
Yes.
It's Cody Campbell. It's Patrick Mahomes. He's bankrolling a lot of this. The Kansas City Chiefs quarterback that is, of course, a Tech alum. He has his own NIL collective in partnership with Texas Tech, and he's putting a whole bunch of money behind not just football, but the softball program as well, a number of programs. Basketball is on the climb at Texas Tech. They have decided, hey, if this is what we're doing, if this is the world we're living in, let's go. And they've done a really good job of it, and they've inserted themselves into the conversation in a number of sports because of that. That's the world that college sports is right now, and they're not to be faulted for that because everybody's trying to do it. They've just managed to do it well.
I'm going to propose the question on air because I want your thoughts on this.
Okay.
I feel like for Sark to say that, we can go against basically the Big 12 with our 2s and 3s. I feel like that's fair because Texas has proven its depth over these last 3 years. And the fact that they've been able to recruit successfully, they've been able to develop the younger players in their freshman and sophomore seasons to the point where they are productive when they actually take the field. And then there are those few that come in as true freshmen or redshirt freshmen that can make impacts right away. I feel like I've seen that over at least 3 years from the Longhorn football program to where, I think that's a legitimate statement coming out of Sark from the Texas perspective.
Go ahead.
This is my question. Do you feel like Tech, given what you laid out as a very recent kind of resurgent, I don't even know if we can say resurgent, but a very recent run of success, do you feel like they're deep enough?
There was the one Michael Crabtree year.
Pat had some great years in 2016. But do you feel like Tech is deep enough to take their 2s and 3s against the rest of the Big 12?
I think probably not at this point. Like they'll have the top end talent with all the people that they bring in, but I think over time they haven't gotten enough money out there to bring in the 2s and 3s that are that level, in my opinion.
I think the reality of the matter is that neither of them actually could. I think he's besmirching the Big 12 too strongly with that. Are there teams within the conference that both of them could beat with their 2s and 3s?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Neither of them is beating BYU with their 2s and 3s.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued to see what Oklahoma State looks like with new coach, new quarterback. It's basically UNT North now up in Stillwater. I think they've got a chance to be a lot better this year than they were last year. Mike Gundy, wasn't built for this era of college football evidently, and is no longer there for that reason. There are teams within the Big 12, and we'll see who it is this year. If Colorado can make a jump again, if Deion can get things pointed back in the right direction, somebody else in the conference is going to be strong this year. Is it Arizona or Arizona State? Both of those two programs have shown good signs. Somebody else in the conference beyond Texas Tech and BYU is going to show themselves to be strong. And neither Texas nor Texas Tech is beating those 2 or 3 teams with their 2s and 3s.
Yeah.
But I think part of the point he's trying to make is the depth of the conference isn't the same.
Right.
That is the Big Ten and the
fair.
SEC are deeper conferences. That part is true. I do think at the very top, Tech and BYU last year were good enough teams to be playoff teams. BYU ended up just on the outside looking in. Tech obviously didn't have a great showing in their home game in the first round, but I think in totality, you look at the season they had a very good season, and they were a very good football team.
Yeah.
The top of the Big 12, I do think, can compete with, and the top of the ACC can compete with the Big Ten and the SEC schools. It just is an easier path to get to the playoff because the depth isn't as strong.
100%. I don't know. I go back to like SMU's playoff game against Penn State and even Texas Tech last year, their first round playoff game. Like those are your opportunities, right? Those are your platforms to say, yes, as a conference, we can stand up to the big dogs, the perennial powers, the historically good college football programs. And then we've seen a couple times them lay eggs in those opportunities. So, it's a fair point. To Cody Campbell's request of seeing these two teams play each other.
That'd be fun.
I was going to say, given the current playoff situation or format. If both of these teams are in basically like either the same side of the bracket or I guess different sides of the bracket and make it far enough, we could get that. But there would obviously be a lot of stakes on the line there. And I have to say this, just as a Texas alum.
I was gonna say,
right, like everyone talks about the Texas A&M game as the game on the schedule. Obviously, Red River with Texas and OU, like that's a huge game every year. Everybody wants to play Texas. Everybody wants to prove that they can knock off the Longhorns. And this is not my bias speaking. This is an objective statement.
I can't help it that
There's
I'm
a
so
reason,
popular.
There's a reason
I can't
why
help it that people like
those
me.
games are billed as the biggest games on everyone else's schedule. Let me ask you, what game is the bigger game for Texas? Texas A&M or OU?
I would say probably OU.
I would say OU.
The fact that it's even not like you have to give it some thought, I would say arguably the Texas A&M Texas game is the biggest game on the Aggie schedule, and I'd say it's the biggest game on OU's schedule. I don't know.
It's definitely the biggest game on each of their respective schedules, no question. I think historically I still lean Oklahoma, but in the very recent vintage, the fact that it was back made it bigger.
Yes.
And then the fact that Texas Tech was so good last year made it bigger. So like these couple of years that now we've had it back,
and that they've been
A&M
good.
has felt bigger.
Yeah.
And also Oklahoma's been a little bit
down.
Yes.
down compared to
Relatively.
themselves.
What they've
Yes.
been before.
Yes. I bring that up because I think it'd be a huge game. Like people would be really excited to watch Texas versus Texas Tech, especially given how, I mean, recency bias, like how good these teams have been. Literally, like
They're gonna
in the
need
last
Brandon
24
Thorsby
minutes.
though.
But because Texas was bad for all of my college existence. Like
That's a good add-in because
You know-
it felt like you were trying to sink the knife, but you're right. It's true with both programs.
Yeah.
It has been very recent that a little less recent for Texas. They've at least kind of stacked up 3 years or so under Sark.
Yeah,
but yes,
stacked up and before that, I don't think it has the same lore. But I had to put that out there because for Cody Campbell to say that, it's like, okay, I'm not scheduling. I don't know who. Like, not saying that is gonna get scheduled, but
it's probably not.